Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. Sean on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what to do, everybody? It's your boy, John Altidor, Pro Fan Sports Podcast, back at you with another one of my boys, Vlad and Barry, and back on the show, one of our favorite guests of the past, it's journalist, author, podcaster, John Karalis. Welcome back to the show, man. We appreciate you coming back.
I'm happy to be back. It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit, man. Last time you came on here, a lot of people told us this was probably one of their favorite episodes.
Wow.
You gave the people a lesson. You went historical facts. We had a really good time doing it. So thanks for coming back. And you're welcome here as always, man. And let's talk some hoop. I think the first thing is the NBA, I guess, frowns upon stat padding.
Yeah, man. I don't understand why Giannis even did what he did. I think he, in the moment, I can understand getting caught up in the moment. I'm a big fan of Giannis. I think Giannis plays the game the right way. He has the right respect for the game. And to do that was just like a little bit of a departure because I admit I'm a little old school. Like that is disrespectful to the game. If you get a triple double, you earn it, right? You grab your 10 rebounds, your 10 assists, your 10 plus points, whatever. If the game is over and you didn't get that 10th rebound, then you didn't get it. So to fake it that's like, oh man. Come on, Giannis, you're better than that. If it was me, if I was the one that was out there, then yeah, I could see myself being like, yeah, I'm gonna go get myself that triple double. It's my only chance ever in life to get a triple double. Yeah, Giannis is an MVP candidate. You're gonna get plenty. You're gonna get 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 50, 20, whatever, however many more. So I thought that was a little suspect. So this is the first thing I said when I was talking to some of the reporters. We're waiting to get into the locker room. We're all kind of like showing each other our phones. Like, did you see this? And me and Jay King, we were both like, they're going to take that away. The league is not going to let that stand.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's Giannis. You guys already won the game. You don't need to do this. And it felt really cheap. I mean, it was cheap.
It was.
Yeah. So for me, it was like.
I'll give him. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to give him a pass because everything else he's done to this point has been, I think, just absolutely like. I love the way he plays. I love his dedication to Milwaukee. I love all that stuff. So I'm going to give him a pass. Get out of jail free card. You got one moment where you pull a stunt like that. He's not going to be in the Ricky Davis Hall of Fame or anything like that. So, hey.
Ricky Davis Hall of Fame.
Guys talk about stat padding all the time, and I'm like, it's probably not the right stuff for you to be doing when things like that are around. Talking about Perk and the whole Jokic situation, him being on that show, and him and JJ Redick going back and forth. What was your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, the notion that Jokic is stat padding is a little absurd. I think I don't know why that was even a subject, other than to say debate shows are going to debate, and that's somebody's got to come up with something. I don't see Jokic doing it. What's the stat padding, like offensive rebounds or something like that? Like is he just tipping? Are they saying he's Moses Malone, kind of like tipping the ball to himself 4 or 5 times to pad his rebounding stats? I don't think that's Jokic. Just like I don't think that's Giannis. I don't think that's either of those two guys. So that's why I was so surprised with Giannis. But I think a lot of the times nowadays, guys, with the debate shows. I feel like, I don't know, 70, 80% of the topics are just contrived because we got to fill an hour and people love to hear us go back and forth and yell at each other. So I have an opinion that's like here on the scale, but I'm going to take it out to here so you can yell at me on this side and we can have some fun. I don't think anybody really believes that Jokic is stat padding. I think there's some accentuated opinions, exaggerated for TV, so it can get people up in arms, and it's just a classic kind of like hot takey click on this video type of stuff. I just kind of dismiss that.
Yeah. Either way, man, two great players in the league, and they're going to do what they do.
Yeah.
And continue to do it, man. But let's move on to our local team here, who I guess just didn't want to defend Boston when it came to New York teams. Is what we lost 2 in a row, Brooklyn and then the Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah, and they lost to the Knicks like a few days ago. So I mean, it's been a bad time in the Boston New York rivalry. I'm sure that's folks in New York are loving that. Yeah, but look, let's give credit to New York first of all. New York is playing well. Emmanuel Quickly in both games was awesome. Definitely, he played 55 minutes in this last game.
Mm-hmm.
That's and he just couldn't miss. He was dancing, he was skipping, he was doing that 3-point celebration, which is whatever. Like, and again, I'm an old school guy. If a dude is skipping in front of my bench, that the next time you try to take a layup, you're going to be on your ass in the lane. But you can't do that anymore. It's 2023. You do that, it's a potentially flagrant 2. You're going to get kicked out of the game. It's kind of hard to kind of self-regulate that kind of stuff. It's a little tough in today's league to say, here's a dude dropping career high on you. He's comfortable. He's dancing. It's a little bit embarrassing what he's doing to you, and you kind of have no recourse to just kind of say, hey, we're going to make you think twice about that. But there are ways to kind of send some messages out there. First and foremost, I guess I would say defend the dude. Get somebody in there to actually defend him and keep him from getting in there. It's harder in today's NBA, but you got to do it. I mean, you got to give them credit. Julius Randle making tough shots. RJ Barrett made some tough shots. And the Celtics, in both of these games, Brooklyn and New York, were playing well. I thought they played well in the first half against New York through 3 quarters. They were up 14, and I felt like, okay, I had no problems with how they played in the first half, and no problems until they got that 14-point lead. And the same thing that happened with Brooklyn. They got a lead that they felt comfortable. They felt comfortable with the flow of the game, and they just said, that's it. We're done. Mission accomplished. We have now satisfied ourselves. We know we can blow out Brooklyn. We know we can beat New York. So we're going to relax now. And all of a sudden, they look like they just forgot how to play basketball. Like somebody hit them over the head. They got amnesia for like 5 minutes. They're not playing. They're not defending. They're not attacking. And all of a sudden now you come out and you have a 25-point swing. And it's hard to kind of come back from that. If they had just kept on going in each game, if you have the respect for your opponent that they're going to come back if you let up, then you should respect that ability and go up 35, go up 40 against Brooklyn, go up 20 against New York. Like, as long as you're doing it in a methodical way, as long as you're not like being, jerks about it, I feel like a 40-point lead is actually a sign of respect. We have to get this lead up this high so you don't come back. We're making sure that, we're not only burying you, we're throwing dirt on top of you. We don't want you to come back. And the Celtics just, they had a couple of games where they just completely got away from any of that stuff. They looked terrible for stretches, and then they try to get it back, and it's hard at that point because the other team feels good about themselves.
That loss against Brooklyn, what does that tell you about the team in the long term?
It's hard to say what it means long term. I think that kind of question is something that's answered in the long term. You know, like if they go and get back to the finals, then the answer to your question is it meant nothing. You know what I mean? And it's hard for me to say, like, I can say, I don't think they have the proper respect for their opponents. I don't think they have that ruthless nature to themselves where, you know, between the lines, it's, hey, we are going to do what we do, and we're going to just march, and whoever's in our way gets trampled. And I just don't think they have that. And whether it's they're tired and they just want to preserve their legs, or maybe they just wanted to mess around and like, hey, it's, you know, we're up big, let's just kind of have some fun out here. Whatever it is, they need to get to a kind of a ruthlessness about them where they just say, we, for 48 minutes, are going to play our best basketball. And if that results in a 2-point game, then it results in a 2-point game. If it results in a 50-point game, then it results in a 50-point game. That's on you. You guys figure that out. What we're going to do is we're going to keep playing. And as long as we're on the floor, we're going to keep pouring it on. And if it's Brooklyn and they're having an off night or decimated by trade or whatever, doesn't matter. 28 points, not enough. We're going to keep going. And if at halftime it's 50, then so be it. No disrespect. It's actually, we're just going to keep doing what we do. We respect our opponent enough to just keep playing basketball. And then the coach can call off the dogs. But until then, that they lack that attitude. And that's the thing that they need to get if they're really going to make a serious run.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with that wholeheartedly, 100%. You know, perfectly described what, you know, really missing with this team, you know, and then that's that killer instinct that, you know, being able to close and being able to finish and, you know, not take your foot off the gas pedal and, you know, and being consistent and executing consistently on both ends of the floor, you know, for, like you said, the full 48 minutes. That's certainly what hasn't happened with this team, you know, lately, with especially the last couple of games. Now, are you, with these teams' recent struggles, are you worried and concerned about them and, you know, the, you know, injuries and not having, you know, the full, you know, rotation, you know, guys missing games when we thought they were going to be, you know, were just getting healthy, and unfortunately now they're not, you know, healthy more. So does that worry and concern you moving forward?
I think there's a little bit of concern on my part because it seems like some of this started when they started to get fully healthy, right? Like they had their full starting lineup together, and Derek White went to the bench, and the rotations changed a little bit. And I think this last stretch, this last quarter of the season was supposed to be a way to figure out how to do everything that they've learned in the first 3 quarters of the season, but with a fully healthy starting lineup and rotations that look different than what they've been. So you got a guy like Derek White who went from player of the month to now he's not play. He didn't play down the stretch in this game against New York, which I think some of it was understandable, but also I think some of it was, hey, you know, you gotta sometimes throw some of the matchups out the window. But regardless, that's something that the team needs to figure out, because Derek White has been great in clutch moments. Well, who takes over in those moments? How has the team been playing to get Derek White so good? It's not that Derek White is out there just LeBroning everybody and taking over as a force of nature. It's kind of a result of the team play and the ball movement and all of that. And when he's not on the floor and when it's a fully healthy team, you start to get to, well, Tatum is controlling the ball and Jalen's controlling the ball. And if you're moving Marcus Smart off the ball and having Jason Tatum initiate Well, now they get to help off of Marcus Smart, and they force him to take shots. And you say, well, we need Marcus Smart on the floor to defend, but now you're taking away his strength. And I just feel like the Celtics have kind of shifted how they close games and shifted how they are in certain situations where the things that had been working aren't working anymore because the personnel is different and the way that personnel grouping played together was different. And now you have a more deliberate guy in Tatum and Brown hunting mismatches and then figuring out, okay, they helped. Okay, now I'm kicking. Versus Derek White, just catch, make a quick decision. Doesn't matter what the matchup is because he's not the guy that's going to break down matchups. That's not who he is. So the talent level, you say, hey, Tatum and Brown are obviously better, right? They're all-stars. They're potential all-NBA players. Tatum, I don't think he's in the MVP race like legitimately anymore. I think he's fallen out of it. But he has been and he can play like an MVP candidate. So you say, okay, yeah, you want those guys on the floor to close, and that's obviously true. But the strength of this team and what makes those guys so effective on this team is when the ball is moving and the defense is in chaos, and then they're not just attacking mismatches, they're attacking breakdowns. And that's where they really, really thrive. Tatum and Brown want to hunt individual mismatches. I want them to hunt defensive breakdowns. And they're not generating the breakdowns. They're generating the mismatches, but when everybody's standing around and there's a lot of help defense, then it kind of leads to Tatum going 1-on-3 and then trying to kick, but maybe not doing it, or maybe turning the ball over, or taking a tightly contested, shot around the restricted area. That's not what we want. We want drive, kick, swing, secondary attack, kick, open three-pointer, no, hard closeout, attack that, cut down the middle, boom, there's a dunk. That kind of boom, 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 boom. All of that stuff is where the Celtics really, really, really thrive. So they need to get back to doing that, but with the starting group on the floor versus the reserve group. Like, I feel like against the Cavs, we're doing this before the Cavs game, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys come out and start hot because they're missing Tatum. They need to do all of this stuff to get open shots. So it's kind of like a chicken and egg sort of situation where, okay, you want this ball movement to, does the ball movement create the open shots? Does the talent kind of create the ball move? It's just kind of this like weird back and forth. I want it to be just pace, ball movement, attack the breakdowns. This Celtics team, when they do all that stuff, just cannot be beat. Cannot be beat. Best team in the league by far. But when they play like they did in the past couple of games, especially in those stretches where they gave the ball away, they're mediocre and barely mediocre.
Is that also contributing to Tatum's low percentage three-point shooting?
I think so. I think Tatum is best when he's attacking. Like last night, he had I forget what he shot last night, but he shot better from three. And there was a point where he was shooting like 6 of 10, I want to say, regardless of what it was. I knew in the first quarter, I think he took 6 free throws in the first quarter. And I said, that's the sign where if he's taking a bunch of free throws in the first quarter, he's going to get good looks from three at the end of the game. And getting into that rhythm is going to help him make those threes later in the game. The thing I hate for Tatum is coming out and taking 2, 3, 4 3-pointers to start the game. I want him driving, attacking, getting to the free throw line, get your rhythm at the line, and then start taking your jumpers. And from there, if you're collapsing the defense, he could have 2 points in the first quarter, or 2 points off of like field goals, but 6 points off of free throws and 3 assists. And that I can tell you after the first quarter, he's going to have an MVP game. So yeah, I think some of that is contributing.
Do you think this team's living and dying by the three too much and not getting enough paint touches or not getting downhill and then, kicking out because they've been shooting a lot of threes lately and, in some of these games they haven't been falling, going down like they were in the beginning of the season. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I do think – I think they're taking too many the wrong way. They took 59 against New York. And okay, so that's the most they've ever taken. They've taken 50 or more three-pointers 10 times this season. They had taken 50 or more three-pointers 10 times in all prior seasons combined. So from 1978-79 when the three-pointer came in, only 10 times coming into the season, 50 or more. They got 10 this season alone. I don't care about the number necessarily, because there are going to be games where you do all that ball movement that I said, and the team is just going to collapse defensively, and it's going to be a ton of open shots around the three. And if you're generating your three-pointers the right way, then fine, take them. Take 60, take 70. That I don't care about. When you're just coming down and firing, and I also understand sometimes you want early offense. Sometimes you want to push it, and you get a cross match, or you get a mismatch, or you get a lapse, like I said, a breakdown. Sometimes the defensive breakdown comes in the first 3 seconds of a shot clock, and you got a guy wide open in the corner, and he's that fine. That's fine. But to do it over and over again, to come down 2 seconds in, 5 seconds in, one pass, three, I don't like that. You can take 25 one pass three-pointers, and I'll hate every single one of them. You could take 60 good three-pointers, and I will love all of them, because there's a good chance when you take the good ones, you're going to be hitting like 30, 38, 39, 40% of those. So it's more the type of three-pointers, and I think they're taking too many of the wrong ones.
Well, one question that I had also was, wanted to ask, what do you think about, Joe Mazzulla as far as how he's done, and what does he need to improve and work on moving forward if this team is going to be, make a deep run and get back to the finals?
Yeah, I feel like that Joe, as a young coach, doesn't have the best feel for the game necessarily. Like, that just comes with experience. You have to experience a ton, right? It's just like us when we do our podcasts, right? The more podcasts you do, the more you understand this is how we should sequence how we're asking questions. I know that, I've asked 2 questions in a row. Let me give somebody else. You start to, like, the more experience you get, the more you recognize things going well and not well. You can understand if you have somebody on, you're like, oh my God, this guy's a crappy guest. You understand all that stuff. The same thing when I say that when I'm on. It's the same thing coaching on the sideline or whatever it is you're doing. The more you do it, the more you develop a feel for what you should do. And every once in a while, the numbers tell you to do something, but you can see something is happening in this game that's the outlier. And that's where I don't think Joe Mazzulla he's not recognizing that yet. I think he's leaning heavily into the analytics, heavily into the numbers, and he's kind of married to that. And I'm an analytics guy. I believe in the analytics. They tell you something, and even if it's counter to what I have historically believed, fine, that's fine. You can change and I can adapt and all of that stuff. But I also think the other side has to admit that sometimes you got to go against the numbers, because the game is telling you the numbers aren't panning out in this one. So you got to recognize that. Maybe it's a substitution, maybe it's a timeout, maybe it's, a play call, whatever it is. That's where he needs to grow. I think right now he's still leaning very, very heavily into the numbers, and I think that's guiding a lot of his decisions. And I think every once in a while that's kind of getting him into some trouble.
Last question for me. Do we need the number 1 seed to make it what we're trying to make it?
Yeah. Need? No. Would it be really, really helpful? Yeah, it would be very helpful, because that 1-8 matchup I just don't want any part of, like, if Miami slips at all, if Brooklyn doesn't keep falling, then I certainly don't want to see Miami in the first round. No matter flaws, whatever, I just don't want to see playoff Jimmy Butler. I don't want to see Bam Adebayo as a defender. I don't want to see any of that stuff. That's not what you want in a first round matchup. Too hard for a 1-8 matchup. Give me somebody else. Give me Toronto. Give me, Washington. Give me one of these other teams. Brooklyn again. I'm not worried about Brooklyn. The game the other day notwithstanding. And in the second round, I just don't want Philly. I know that the Celtics match up well against Philly. I'd rather play Cleveland. If it's a 4-5 and it's Cleveland or New York, I'd still rather play one of those teams. And I know the Celtics have had trouble with New York, but I think in a playoff series, it's a little bit different. I think that could be a much easier playoff series. So I know Philly. I know Boston's history with Philly. I don't want to take the chance that this is the year Joel Embiid says, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with everything else. I'm actually putting my head down, and I'm going to bull my way to the hoop, and I'm just taking 30 free throws a game. You can't stop me no matter what. I don't want this to be the year that James Harden says, you know what? I'm actually going to put forth a good playoff performance. Like I think avoiding that top seed makes it easier. Now the Celtics can, if you're the second seed, still accomplish what they need to accomplish. That's fine. They can win on the road. It's just easier getting that top seed. They played hard all year. They earned it. So I would prefer that they do that.
Well, John, I know you got to get ready for this game coming up. So once again, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to checking down your breakdown on, Locked On Celtics after the game. So,
all right.
Thank you, man. You have a good night.
I appreciate it. I wish I had more time, guys. I'm sorry, but we'll do it again where my long-winded answers have more time to breathe. See you guys.
All right. See you, John. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Absolutely, man. That was the great John Karalis. You guys should make sure to check him out on Twitter, and that's at John_Karalis. Karalis spelled Karalis. I'm sure you guys just Google him. He's the first John Karalis to show up because he's just that famous. So once again, John, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Before we leave here, guys, I had a question for you guys. Ja Morant, his whole situation, if people don't know, Ja Morant put on his Instagram Live, he was waving around a weapon, and he got himself in some trouble right now. He is, out indefinitely. There's no timetable. The coach has said, on top of that, he's was accused of beating up a 17-year-old and brandish his gun, on top of some other things that were happening. So you guys should check that out. But what do you guys think about that and, the situation he's in?
Like, what do you mean what I think?
The fact that he is where he is right now, out of the league, what do you think about his actions, on social media?
Well, I mean, they were irresponsible. There's not much to it. I just realized it's irresponsible, and it sucks to be where he is, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would certainly agree with Vlad. I think, it was extremely immature for him to do that. And I think it's showing the immaturity that he has, not, I don't really think he's ready to actually be a leader of a team that's contending and competing for a championship. I think he's, obviously a great talent, no question about that. He can, we know he can hoop, and, he can certainly obviously be, is a really great, really good player. But I think there's a lot of things that, he has to work on, character-wise, off the court. And this is, definitely clearly, showing that, that's the case, and that, he has a lot of growing up to do, and has to, really, mature, off the court, as a man, and really get, his life together to really be able to, be that guy that can be able to be, a leader and a number one player on a championship team. I know it's disappointing to see, him act like that, the way that he did, in the Instagram live video. You would think that he would know, better than, not to do something like that and post it on where there's obviously going to be a lot of people following you on, since he has a big platform and one of the, most popular superstars in the league. But he just has to, do better and, know better and be more accountable. And you're just like, rather be more responsible and, to, not do those things and to not put himself in those situations, in those positions, and, and to just, avoid that to the best of his ability.
Yeah, man, I agree. I just wanted to ask because I feel like he's definitely one of the face of the league, and he's 23, so he's gonna make mistakes. Sometimes, some of these mistakes are so stupid. It's like none of us are in the NBA right now, but none of us are gonna be on our Instagram lives waving our gun because we know, hey, maybe my employer might see this and there might be some consequences. Because I know, Vlad, your position and my position, it's like, if I'm doing certain things, there's probably going to be some consequences. And, I think sometimes you get so much money, you think you're invincible and you're not going to be touched. And unfortunately, this guy could be facing, 50-game suspension, because this happened in Denver, which means he took the gun on the plane, which is like even crazier to think about. So I think young guys should pay attention to this situation. Make sure they don't repeat that stuff, especially for, young Black individuals. Just don't put yourself in those positions. But that was all for today, man. If you're still watching, make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Click that black button below. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. We're at ProFanSports on everything except for Instagram, and that's at ProFans_sports. We drop every week. We drop content every day, so make sure you come follow us. As always, thanks for the support. We'll catch y'all on the next one. Yeah.
Have a good one. See y'all next week. Thanks for watching.